This is the Nokia 9 PureView, and in today's video we're gonna unbox it and take a quick look at what Nokia has to offer with their latest camera focused offering. Hey guys, Ash here from C4eTech, and let's get this video started. How many rear cameras do you think is optimal for a smartphone? 1, like with the Pixel? 2, 3 or 6 like here with the Nokia 9 PureView? Let me know in the comments below. And by the way, if you do end up liking what you see in this video, please don't forget to turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon. So guys, here's the box that the Nokia 9 PureView comes in. We've got a spec highlights to the back, we've got a regular size branding, 5 cameras, pure display, under-screen fingerprint, etc. Let's now open up the box. First, we have the Nokia 9 PureView itself. It's got a flower-shaped array to the back. Let's talk about that in a second. Removing the phone from that protective plastic, the Nokia 9 PureView feels nice, pretty premium. We've got Gorilla Glass to both the front and the back, 3D glass to the back, 2.5D glass to the front. We've got metal in between. The chamfer running around, it's quite aesthetically pleasing, and the in-hand feel, the Nokia 9 PureView, it feels really nice, it's quite comfortable. The front, the looks, it's a little dated. This is not an all-screen display. We don't get a notch or a punch hole or elevating cameras or anything of that sort. By 2019 standards, we do get substantial bezels, but we also happen to get a high-resolution POLED panel. This is a Quad HD Plus panel with support for HDR. The display is crisp as all those pixels are spread over 5.99 inches, meaning the pixel density is about 540 pixels per inch. The colors are vivid and the brightness levels are good enough for usage outdoors without any issues. Now underneath this panel we have a fingerprint scanner. It is placed a little higher than I expected it to be, but I feel that shouldn't really be an issue. Initial impressions, the scanner felt okay. Guys, I remember reading horror stories about it, but in my use it didn't feel all that bad. Yes, it is slower than others I have tested, but it seems accurate enough. Face unlock was also present and accounted for, and it worked as well as you could expect it to. Now to the back of this phone we get 6 cameras, 5 12-megapixel sensors, 2 RGB, 3 monochrome and 1 time-of-flight sensor. Then there is also a flash. Now we don't get any ultra-wides or super zooms here, so why do we get so many cameras? Well, you know how phones take multiple shots using one camera and kind of combine the different exposure shots to get a HDR or high dynamic range picture? The Nokia 9 PureView does the same, but instead it takes pictures from all 5 cameras and takes the pictures at the exact same moment. So technically you could get HDR shots without any motion blur. And of course the quality of the shots itself should be better given the increased dynamic range amongst other things. Now as far as JPEGs go, as you can see, the 9 PureView seems to be doing a decent job, but it can also shoot RAW. And when you spend just a few seconds with these images in Adobe Lightroom, even with the free version, and even if you're just doing something as simple as hitting auto on Lightroom, it gets you very good results. Here are a few more examples. The dynamic range seems excellent. Even with the portrait mode, the results seem very promising. Now talking about the portrait mode, the Nokia 9 PureView does save depth information, and you can edit the image later to change the level of blur or the focus point of the image. The interface itself does feel a little slow, and the phone takes its own sweet time to process the image when you shoot. That said, you don't have to wait for the processing to be done in order to shoot your next image. You can just continue clicking away. Now as for selfies, the 9 PureView has a 20 megapixel f2 camera, and for videos it can do 4K but only at 30 FPS, and given there is no OIS on any of these cameras, the 9 PureView depends on electronic image stabilization, which is not available at 4K 30. Now coming back to the feature list, the 9 PureView has support for wireless charging, but it does lack a headphone jack, and this is why. Okay, you know what, I kind of jumped the gun a little bit. So back to the box, here is a SIM ejector tool, some of the regular information booklets, a USB Type-C cable, and since there is no headphone jack, a Type-C to headphone jack converter, and then weirdly enough a pair of regular in-ear earphones, the ones with a 3.5mm converter and not Type-C. That's super weird. And finally, there's an 18-watt charger. With this, the Nokia 9 PureView should be able to charge its 3320 mAh battery from 0 to 50 in about 30 minutes. Now other specs include last year's Snapdragon 845 under the hood. This is coupled with 6 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage. Sadly, there is no room for memory expansion via micro SD, and there is IP67 water and dust resistance for what it's worth. Now while the 845 might not be the latest and greatest that Qualcomm has to offer, it is still good enough for pretty much anything and everything, especially when you take into account that this is an Android One device and comes with pretty much the basics. Even Lightroom is something that we installed ourselves and it wasn't preloaded. So anyway, that's pretty much it for the Nokia 9 PureView. HMD Global has this priced at 2300 AED in UAE. That converts to about 43,000 Indian rupees or 625 US dollars. At this price, the chip might not be the best available at the moment, and the upcoming competition will only make this a weaker proposition. But that's just from a spec standpoint purely. The cameras do seem really interesting, and if they do deliver, then the 9 PureView might just be worth it for a certain few. You know, those who want to get the most out of their smartphones with regards to photography. Anyway, let me know if you'd want to see a full review or a comparison of this phone with anything else in particular, and I will try to get that video done. And with that, we get at the end of this quick unboxing. Thumbs up, thumbs down based on whatever you felt about it. Subscribe, turn on notifications by hitting that bell icon if you haven't yet. And you can also check